ChurchTrac is a single entry accounting system that uses a cash-based or funds-based approach to accounting. If you're new to ChurchTrac and just starting out with accounting, I'll show you how to set up the accounting screen in this video, and I'll share some helpful pro tips, so stick around to the end. Before you can set it up, make sure you have 3 things. 1, you're going to need your bank statement for the month you wish to begin tracking your finances for all the accounts you want to add to ChurchTrac. 2, you will need a list of all of your organization's funds or designated balances of money. This is going to help you know how much money is supposed to be in each of your funds as we're setting things up. 3, what you'll need is a budget or a list of your income and expenses. You might call this your chart of accounts. Once you have everything you need, the first thing to do in the software is create your funds. In the accounting screen, select the Funds tab. You'll notice that there is already a general fund here. You need to keep that fund. Do not change it or delete it. This is where all undesignated money goes into and where all the bills are paid from. The only difference is designated income. Those designated incomes are the one we will create in this step. So let's start with the missions fund. Select Add a Fund. Type the name of your fund correctly. Click OK. Note here, as you create your funds, you are going to notice that the current balance is $0. Don't panic. We're just laying the foundation for your accounting right now. You can't edit that balance here. That's done in the account screen, which we will get to in a moment. So before I move on, I want to make one quick point. Many churches and ministries we talk to have multiple checking accounts. They have one for general offerings, they have one for men's ministry, and another for the youth ministry, and so on. ChurchTrac allows you to consolidate all of these accounts into one because you can track all those monies with funds instead of separate bank accounts. So if your ministry has been using multiple bank accounts to manage your funds, now is the time to simplify your accounting. Okay? Next, I need you to add categories. So as you can see, there are already several categories in the program. These are built in for you. The one I'm not seeing in here is missions. So you say, Lori, how do you know? Well, there's a search categories option at the top. It also helps if you spell it right, but if you don't, that's okay too. It's still not there. So what we're going to do is add missions. Okay? When you add missions, you're like, well, where did it go? It all the way at the bottom. All new categories go to the bottom of the list. As it's clicked on, you'll notice the properties on the right. The name, the category number, subcategory of, we'll get to that in a minute. Is it an income or expense? This is critical. You need to make sure that you indicate this here because it's going to determine how it works and where it works in your reports. In this case, it's an income. My default fund, however, because this is designated income, is going to be our missions fund that we just created. Okay? Now, that default fund is what creates the link and affects our giving entries and our accounting entries. So this is really important. And for me, this is something that I always see that gets missed. So make sure you create that. You can also create subcategories. This allows you to keep your categories organized by grouping things together. For example, this church supports a missionary family. So let's add a subcategory to the main missions category we created. Select, well, we have to go back and add, and we're going to call this our missions family. Okay, yours would not be quite so generic, but we'll go with this. Okay, remember where it goes in the list all the way to the bottom. Select the missions family. There's my category name. It's an income, okay? And my default fund, again, is missions. Make sure you set these up. Then you can determine that this is a subcategory of missions, okay? That bottom, okay. Now we have our subcategory and our missions. Blue is the selection list. It's based on your default colors, just so you know, okay? One thing I want you to know in here is that you can move your categories up and down this list by clicking and dragging these up-down arrows. If you're on a parent, it's going to take the whole section with it, okay? And I'm going to attempt to move this all the way to the top. right there, okay? This order that you're going to set your categories in is going to affect how they display when entering donations or transactions and when you create your budget. So what we suggest in ChurchTrac is that you move all income to the top and all of your expenses to the bottom. From there, you can set them in the order of priority. Last, after all of your funds and categories have been created, it's time to add your accounts. The accounts you add here can be anything from a checking and savings accounts to a money market, even liabilities like a mortgage, a car loan, or a credit card, okay? So you're going to go to your Accounts tab. You're going to click on Add Bank Account. For this process, you're going to answer a series of questions, but you are going to need that bank statement we talked about at the beginning. Okay, we recommend having at least the last month's statement, but if you're doing this in the middle of your fiscal year and you want to have all of your year's accounting recorded and caught up, in the software, then grab the bank statement from the first month in your fiscal year. Just keep in mind that you have to record all the transactions in that account between then and now to get everything caught up. We will cover that process and how to make this happen and make it a little easier later in this video. So don't sweat that one, okay? To add your account, select the Add Bank Account button. We will ask you a couple of basic questions before you can begin creating this account. Once you've answered, then you can give the account a name and designate whether this is a liability or an asset, and we'll add the checking account. So I'm going to walk through that here. Is this account held at a bank or financial institution? Yes. Do you have access to recent statement for this account? Yes. We're going to name it checking. It doesn't have to be so generic, but in this case, we're just going to make it that way. It is an asset account because this is where my cash goes, okay? And then I click Next. I have to enter here the beginning balance date and a beginning balance for this statement. This is where your statement's going to come in. You will take the information off of your statement and add it here. In this case, my statement says July 1st, and we're going to go with that I have $20,000 in the bank, okay? Enter the balance as indicated. Don't worry about anything else, okay? With my $20,000, I'm going to create this account, okay? We're off to the races, and you can now begin doing the church's accounting. So here's the first steps I recommend that you take to get this off the ground. First thing we're going to do is go into our checking account, single click, double click our beginning balance transaction, and we are going to divide out the balance of our beginning balance into the funds that we've created and in the categories, okay? This is how we're going to determine what monies our ministries goes in. Again, this comes from our documentation that we talked about at the beginning of the video, okay? So in this case, I'm going to add a line item, and I'm going to add my missions family, okay? Notice as soon as I start searching, it's there, okay? My default fund pops in automatically, and now I have to enter the amount of money that I have in my missions fund for this family, okay? Note, my beginning balance transaction was $20,000. That's what my statement said. So if I start breaking this down, I have to take the minuses of each line item from the amount so that the total stays the same. So in this case, I have to adjust this to $18,000 so that it updates correctly and my balance never changes, okay? Once I get all of my line items in here, all I need to do is update the categories and funds for each of those by doing exactly what I just did. Note here, you're going to have a memo. This prints on the check. You have a place for notes, for tags that you may want to assign to these transactions, and you can attach files. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, okay? So close the transaction, and it updates your beginning balance transaction, okay? As you go through this process, you are going to then continue to enter your transactions. Keep in mind, now that you have your funds and your categories and accounts established, and we've divided all of your monies into your designated funds, you're ready to begin adding transactions to record all of your income and expenses. I want to point out to you this in this video. Your giving should be entered in the giving screen over here. If you've entered your giving in the giving screen, you want to deposit those batches into your selected checking account to make sure that the details in giving come over with your giving screen deposits, okay? Once those are in place, do them 1 month at a time, all the way up to where you are right now. That's when you will go through this next process I'm going to talk about, okay? So there are 2 ways that you can get information into your account register easily, okay? The first way is to set up bank sync. This connects your church's bank account to ChurchTrac so that the bank forwards those transactions to your account. Using this option, you don't have to manually add the transactions yourself. Just select the Link Accounts button. You say, Lori, where is that? Well, it's actually outside your account. You click this button, brings up a screen, you find your bank, you enter your banking credentials, and then you have the ability to import transactions back to a date. The other option is you can import your bank statement. If you have an electronic bank statement in the formats that we talk about in our user guide, you can import those transactions. Both of these options yield the same result. I'm not going to go into the details to do either of those because we have videos and user guide options for those in greater detail in our user guide. So check those out before you get started into that process, but you're a little ways from that now, okay? So that's how you set up accounting in ChurchTrac. Before we wrap things up here, there are a few tips that I would like to provide you to help you do your accounting, okay? 1, the fewer funds, the better. The rule of thumb is that if you have more than 10 funds, you probably have too many and you should consider consolidating some of them. Remember, funds and categories are not one-to-one. 2, check your work and have others review your work. Accounting and comprehension are crucial when managing your ministry's funds. So the more eyes you can put on this, the better. You can add other leaders as users to the account so they can check in as needed or help you with your checks and balances. And 3, attach your bank statement to your register as reconciliations are completed. To do this, you're going to create a journal entry transaction in the transaction register. And that little spot where I told you could attach, put an attachment, that's where you're going to attach your statement so that that journal entry is there and you have quick access to it from within the program. This also makes reconciling easier and it helps our support team answer questions if we need help. Okay? If you follow these steps and use these steps I've shared in this video, your path ahead will be a lot smoother. If you have questions, send us a support ticket or visit churchtrac.com/support for further assistance.